welcome to Ellen Ruth's Soap. I'm Ellen, and today we're not going to make soap. We are going to make pillar style candles using my favorite little pumpkin soap mold. This thing is kind of an octopus. It's very wiggly, but adorable pumpkin shapes, right? Or gourds, any sort of that type of a fruit. Love it. I am going to be using Pillar of Bliss wax today. I got it from Nature's Garden. It is a pillar style wax, so it's meant to, it's not a container wax. That's an important factor. I probably wouldn't make this candle shape with a soy wax. So a pillar wax is different than a soy wax. It's a little bit harder. It's got a little higher melting point, and that way it holds its shape when it doesn't have a container. So these are not candle molds. They don't have a hole for wicking. And so what I'm planning on doing is I am going to just pour the wax in here, scent it up the way I want it. I like to do about a 10% scent load so it has a good strong, I'm going to do sort of a foodie. I'm thinking like a pumpkin caramely type scent. I'll figure that out later. But we're going to go ahead and melt the wax properly, pour it in this mold and let it cool, and then I bought two different tools here. This is a big needle for doing some sort of upholstery type work or crafting, but it is a slender diameter. And so this, I'm going to try this, and then I also bought, because I wasn't sure which one would be thinner, I think these are the same diameter. This is an ice pick. So again, it has a point and a very slender diameter. And so I saw somebody do this a while ago on Pinterest, or I don't remember where, but I'm going to put this on my little hot pad, or you can heat it with a heat gun, warm it up, and I'm going to poke a hole through the pumpkin to thread our wicking through. So that's what these tools are for. I think I'll try these because they're a little bit longer, but I did get the ice pick on Amazon. Very inexpensive. I thought, well, I'll get both and we'll see which one I prefer better. So after we get these unmolded and they firm up, we've got to make a hole and thread our wicks through there for our little pumpkins. But I wanted to make pumpkin pillar candles because I was thinking of tablescapes, whether you're coming for Thanksgiving dinner or a holiday party. I just thought little votive style pumpkin pillars would be adorable on any tablescape. So that's what we're doing today. And I've never done this before. So let's do it for the first time together. So I'm going to get my wax, and we'll talk about the melting point and the fragrance I'm using, all the details, and the wick that I'm going to use too. We'll get into that. So let me gather my equipment and let's come back and make some pumpkin candles. All right, we are back with everything I need to make these little pumpkin candles right now. Let me tell you what's going on. This is 20 ounces of Pillar of Bliss wax, and I bought the big, huge box of it. I don't know, like 20, 40 pounds or something, and it's kind of monstrous and it didn't fit in my screen. So I just went ahead and pre-measured 20 ounces. It's very fine, granular. It's got a few clumps, but anyway, it melts very nice and even. And so I'm going to put this on my little hot plate here and turn it on and start that melting while we talk through the rest. I'm just turning it on high. Let this get warmed up, set it off to the side. You can double boil it. I find I just put it directly on there and stir it with my little stir stick. These are actually bar sort of swizzle sticks, and I love them for soap making and candle making. They're stainless steel. So anyway, my little swizzle stick. Let's talk about the fragrance I'm going to use today in my mold. I pulled this caramel pumpkin swirl and I used it up. I measured it out here. I went a little generous, so I'm doing just a little over 10% because I finished out the bottle, but 10% fragrance load. Pillar of Bliss will hold that fragrance load really well. Smells so good, and this discolors in soap, so I wanted to use it in a candle. So caramel pumpkin swirl is the fragrance, and then I'm just going to let these pumpkins take on the natural ivory color of the wax. It's beautiful, and I don't have the proper colors of liquid candle dye to use. So what I'm going to do, micas don't work well in a wicked candle. You can do them in wax melts and things that don't have a live flame. Micas can actually be a little flammable, so they're not recommended for candle coloring with a wick. What I want to do though is make a little dry brush on the outside of my pumpkins. So after we get the wicks in and they're all ready to go, I'm going to take a brush and maybe use a little melted wax and dip in here and paint the outside of the pumpkin, because we want these to tunnel down when they burn, so they'll keep the pillar, the outside of the pumpkin will remain. You know what I'm saying? So I want to do kind of like in my soap video. If you saw my little pumpkin soap video, I made 3 different color pumpkins and I love them so much. So for the outside of one, I'm going to do a white champagne mica. It's just sort of a very whitish ivory, sparkly. So we'll dry brush that on the outside of a couple of these pumpkins. The next one, I want to do like a pumpkin color. So I have this copper, and it's a lip safe, a copper mica from Brambleberry. But I thought dry brushing this on there would look really beautiful, like a classic pumpkin color. And then I love those aqua greenish tinged pumpkins I'm seeing at the grocery store. So I have Martini Olive Green. And I think a light brushing of this will give the color I'm going for. So those are the 3 colors we're going to do after we get these out of the molds and wicked up and the whole 9 yards, just to finish them off and make them look extra special. So I wanted to tell you about that. I have my thermometer here. So directions for Pillar of Bliss wax. Pillar of Bliss is a soy paraffin blend. If you don't like paraffin, this probably isn't the project for you, but that's what gives it the structure to be a pillar wax. And the directions say to melt it to 195 degrees and then cool it off to about 180 before we throw the fragrance in there, and then cool it off to about 165 to pour it in the mold. And this wax is prone to sinkholes, so they recommend pouring your first pour, let it cool, and then come in with another little bit and top off your candles, because it is prone to that. So we'll see if that's an issue or not, because in this mold, the top of this is going to actually be the bottom. So if it has a little dip, that's not going to be too big of a deal, but we will see when we get there. And I have my mold, because it's floppy, I have it on a tray so I can move this around if I need to for my workspace, so it doesn't shut down my whole table here for filming when I get these poured. So here it is, all ready to go. And now I'm just going to let this melt away, and we will be back when it's time to take the temperature, add the fragrance, and get to pouring. We are all melted. I think I shot past 195. Let's take the temperature and see. Yep, 203. So that's not the end of the world, but I am going to let this cool down just a little bit to about 180 before I add the fragrance. All right, it's been a couple of minutes. Let's take the temperature again. And we are at 186, and I'm going to call that good for adding our fragrance in here. Oh my, this smells good. And this does have that amber color, so I believe it's going to give the candles even more of an ivory sort of tint, which I'm loving. I'm hoping it does. And then with candle scents, you just want to stir really, really well, one direction for a minute, and then pause and stir the other direction. You just want to make sure all the fragrance molecules are bound with all of the wax molecules, and you don't have any pockets of fragrance or anything like that. Oh golly, it smells good in here. I wish you guys could be here to smell. That fragrance was from Be Scented, if I forgot to mention that caramel pumpkin swirl. What a decadent scent. It really does kind of smell like a holiday pastry shop. It's pretty good. All right. And let me see if we've cooled down any more with adding that. Okay, we are at 168, so I think it's time to pour. All right, and this little aluminum wax pitcher does have a nice pour spout, but I always hold a paper towel for drips. And because this is hot, you want to be very careful. One of the things I love about these silicone molds is they are made for baking, so they can handle these temperatures just fine. So if you are, finding a fun decorative mold, make sure it's not plastic or something that will melt with this high of a temperature. Silicone can handle the heat. All right, So I have a little bit of wax left, and I'm gonna just let it cool in the pot here so that if I get any sinkholes, I can fill them up. So I will just set this off to the side and we'll remelt it as needed. So now I have to walk away. You don't want to disturb this. Let them sit for many, many hours. I'm probably going to let them sit overnight before we come back and get to the next step. All right, just a quick update. As these developed a skin on the top, I decided to go ahead and poke toothpicks down in the middle to kind of help when it came to putting the driving the new holes in. So I'm hoping that this will give me a help getting a hole for the wicks to thread through. So here they are. All right, it is the next morning. I just walked away from these last night, and they did sink down a little, just like the website said they would. And so here's my little leftover wax. I'm going to go ahead and heat that up till it's melted. I'm not even going to take the temperature, and get it poured on here. Let me hold this up so you can see how they kind of dip down a little. I just want them to have a nice flat bottom so that, you know, these will be stable candles when they're done. And I'm glad I poked the little toothpicks in here. I'm going to leave those in while I do the next pour. I think it'll make poking my final hole through these a lot easier. So that was kind of a last minute decision, but it worked out well once the skins were formed on there. So yeah, just going to melt this off, top them off, and we'll go from there. All right, we are all cooled off. It is time to unmold these little pumpkins, and they sure do smell good. And let me tell you, the wick size that I've chosen today, I was looking at the holes, and I looked up with a paraffin soy blend, which is a higher melting point, and the diameter of my pumpkins, and I chose CDN number 7, and I got these from Rouge, Canada. And that's the one I'm choosing. I'm sure some of you candle makers out there will be like, no, you should have chosen fill in the blank. But this is what I chose. I hope it's the right choice because I don't want a complete burn. I want it to tunnel so it will remain the pumpkin on the outside, but I also don't want it to be such a small wick that it will burn out. You know, the melt pool gets too, it tunnels in on itself and it can't burn. So trying to find that medium, only time will tell. But right now we got to get these out of the mold. And I don't know how hard or easy this is going to be. Let me try and, there we go, get my finger around the edge. Let's see, it's a nice hard wax. And there we go. Oh my goodness, how cute. All right, I see the tip of the toothpick coming through. These are adorable. Oh my goodness. And so there it is. The wick will come up through the center. Love it. Get the rest of these unmolded, and then we will get to removing our toothpicks and see if I need to make these holes a little bigger. So I have my tools off to the side. So let's get these unmolded. All right, we're back to pull our toothpicks out, and some of them I got straight up and down. Some are a little off to the side, so I'll have to correct that when I come in with my little pokey stick here. And I brought my needle nose pliers because my fingers aren't strong enough to pinch, but with the needle nose pliers, they pull right out. And now I've got a starter hole. This one was a little off kilter to the side, but yeah, we'll just have to correct that. So let me get all these little toothpicks out. So a little twist and a pull gets them right out. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is just take this wick and see if it would even fit in that hole. Oh, it does kind of fit. If I poke all the way through, I might not need to use the pokey stick too much, but I do have my little hot pad off to the side here. So what I'm going to do is, let me scoot these out of the way. Take my little metal pokey stick and lay it on here and warm it up. and just gently make the hole a little bigger on the front end here. Because those toothpicks had a pointy side, I need to kind of open up the top end. So I'll do that by melting. Get this hot, poke, wipe off, poke, you know what I'm saying? Kind of that routine. That's what I'm thinking to get these holes all the way through, and I want to try and correct some of these that went sideways so that they come up through the center. That's what I'm really wanting. So let me get this turned on and start to making these holes to go all the way through. All right, I have a little correction here. Actually, let me check this out. If the wick goes all the way through. Okay, look at that. Well, I'll tell you what I did in a second, but I got the wick through the center here. Let me pull it up. And ta-da! Oh, I'm happy. Let me show you what I changed my mind. The heating pad, this is a big diameter, and I took my little toothpick and I started just trying to meet the hole halfway up, and it worked. I used my needle nose pliers. I'll get another one of these wicked up here. Yay! Oh, I'm so happy. And then I'm just pushing that down. Sticks in there really nice. Oh, goodness. Perfect. All right, so I had 2 successes. I just cracked a pumpkin because I broke my toothpick off inside, and I went in with this, which was too wide and it was cold. So I cracked this. So I've got my heat gun out. I'm going to try and warm up the wax and see if I can get it to stick together, and then we will do another attempt on these. So this is a little trickier than anticipated, but I'm not giving up hope. Let's just keep at it here. So right now I'm going to heat gun these and get them warm and see if I can get them to go together. Here's another one. We're going to go through the bottom and see where we come out. It's a little off kilter, but not too bad, so I'm going to go with it because I don't want to break another one. I'm sure there are better ways of making a pillar candle out of a non-pillar candle mold than I'm doing right now. Maybe I'm doing this the hard way. So with the wick sizes on a pillar, with how to use a mold like this, if you have a better way, please share with all of us. I would love to learn. I'm sure the viewers would love to learn from my mistakes. So let's just keep going. This one, again, the hole is off, so I'm going to try and make a new hole without breaking it. Oh boy, now I'm all nervous about it. We are back, and it's time to dry brush our pumpkins, and I'm going to call my skewer concept a fail. The wooden toothpicks worked well because they were a much thinner diameter, not much, but about half the size of this in diameter, and I think it wasn't as aggressive poking a hole through the wax with the wood skewers. But this isn't a complete fail because look what I did with the wick on here. This is the one I repaired. It's holding, the seam's holding, it seems stable. But I am not going to trim the wicks on these, and when I gift them, I'll just say snip off the wick to burn. But look how cute this is. So I'm going to curl the little pumpkin wicks to make it like a little tail, and then it'll look really pumpkin-y, I think. How cute is that? Just wrap it around my skewer here and pull it out. Look at that. Oh my goodness. Okay, so these were inexpensive. I'm so glad because they did not perform like I anticipated, but this is cute. You could do this on a chopstick, a pencil, if you wanted a bigger twirl. I think that really adds a little something to the pumpkins. Let me twirl these up and we will get to painting. All right, I am gonna do 2 of each color, and I'm going to start with the lightest. And let's try this first and see how it goes. Just dry brushing and see if anything sticks on here. So just dip, literally, this is just a makeup brush I had extra that is designated to my soap studio. It's dry, dipping into dry mica. And I'm just going to, oh, look at that. It is sticking really nice. So I'm literally just going to paint this on dry, just for a little extra something. Isn't that pretty? And again, this one is the pumpkin I repaired. I think it's holding together pretty well, so I'm happy about that. Okay, these look adorable, right? But the mica does rub off a little bit, so I'm actually going to hit the top of these with my heat gun in hopes that it will warm the wax and have the mica clinging to it. I don't know, this is a theory, but I'm going to try it and see if I can get the mica to sort of just meld into the wax. So let's give it a go. I won't hit too hard. I'm not trying to melt my pumpkins, okay? All right, guys, here they are. I am delighted with them. So I have clean hands. I'm gonna pick this up. It doesn't come off, but if you rubbed it, it would come off. But these are not made to be, you know, like 40-hour burn time or anything. This is like for a couple of dinners, maybe you'd have these out on your tablescape. But I think they are so adorable. I am loving them. They smell good. They look cute. The wicking was a little bit of a challenge, but well worth the effort. And yeah, I will show you a burn on these in the photography. I'm just so happy. I think they're adorable. I hope you give it a try. And if you have tips about making little pillars and stuff, I sure would love to hear your input. So let me know. And thank you for joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful day.